proud to introduce our guest for today. She is the chair of the Indiana Green Party. Her name is Susan Brown, and she is joining us here all the way from Indiana. So thank you so much for joining Hard Lens Media, Susan. We are glad to have you here. So basically, for our voter, for our viewing audience, and since this is the first time on your show, can you introduce yourself and tell us the reasons why you are building and supporting the Green Party for Indiana voters?
Sure. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting us. As I know you're aware, you have a very active Green Party chapter right here in Chicago and Illinois, so I appreciate the opportunity to let people know what's going on in Indiana. What's the most exciting thing going on for us right immediately, and I think the thing that I want to be sure to get in, is that since you invited us, we have a candidate announced officially for Secretary of State. His name is George Wolf, and that is going to be our foremost activity now for several months because of the election laws as they are in Indiana. We have to obtain some, well, actually in excess of 30,000 signatures to get George on the ballot. So that's kind of what the most recent development is, and we're very excited about that because up until June of last year, the Green Party in Indiana had been decertified as a chapter of the major party, of the national party. So what happened was, with the results of the 2017 election, presidential election, many people were looking for alternatives. And many of us who supported Bernie Sanders were looking for those alternatives, and ultimately myself and a few other Bernie Sanders supporters co-founded the Northwest Indiana Green Party.
All right, so basically to get reestablished. So I think...
Well, what happened was there were other chapters.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
They were springing up all over, the state. At the same time, there was a state group that was trying to get together all the necessary things we need to do to recertify. So that happened with our state Congress in June.
Oh, wow.
Now, I think that's quite an
Last
accomplishment.
June?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So that's quite an accomplishment for us now to be running a state candidate.
Yeah.
We're very proud of that.
Wow, how many? May I just ask? Did you already start collecting signatures at June or past June?
We have to start now, and some chapters are already getting going.
Okay.
As far as Northwest Indiana, barely, because George just announced this week.
Okay. Now, I'm quite curious about this, especially in regards to Indiana. My family, we have a little bit of history in Indiana. It's kind of like our second home because we have some land in Michigan City, Indiana.
Sure.
It's like a second home to us, and I love that state as it's deep in my heart. But since Indiana is a different state compared to Illinois, what is the political history of that state? And since the Green Party identifies itself as a progressive party, I really want to ask about the Democratic Party over there and really about why they're not really carrying the banner of progressivism, because Indiana is mostly a Republican state, especially for the governor's seats, Senate seats, and House seats. So what's happening with the Democratic Party?
What's happening is not good. We have a supermajority. We have a Republican governor and Republicans in both, in the majority in both houses and the General Assembly. Over the years since I first came to Indiana, it was conservative when I got there many years ago, but now it has just moved further and further to the right. And do I need to say anything more than, Mike Pence, our governor, is now the vice president of the United States.
We in this room, we are very aware of his handwriting all over these bills.
That tells you a lot about the state, about the direction that the state has been moving in. I know in Northwest Indiana, we ran some very fine progressive candidates for state office, and they all lost. So can I explain that? Only by the general environment now in Indiana, which is something that the Green Party has to overcome. And
of course.
Because now, I've tried to explain how far right the state has gone. We're very proud of the fact that we have come as far as we have since the state Congress in June, and running a state, elected official. Now, that's a pivotal position for us because basically what we need to do is get ballot access, or we have no power whatsoever. And so the Secretary in Indiana, that possibility is linked to the Secretary of State's office. We have to first get all these tens of thousands of signatures to even place George Wolf on the ballot. And then we have to get 2% of the voting results this, in 2018 to be considered a minor party. Right now we are recognized as a party, and we're part of the national party. But in order to be considered a minor party on the same platform as libertarians, we now need to also get 2% of the results of the Secretary of State's race.
Okay, so I'm curious about this because we've seen how our system is dominated by Democrats and Republicans, and it's really difficult for third parties to get on a spot in the debate stage, or even get near the debate stage, or get coverage in the media. And here in Illinois, for example, the Illinois Green Party and the Illinois Libertarian Party both need to get 25,000 signatures or more to be on the ballot, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you need about 2,000 or 8,000. So what challenges are the Indiana Green Party going to have to face to get your party members on the ballot, and what coverage have you guys received from any media at all?
Good question. As far as standard traditional media, I think none that I know of, but we were prepared for that. When I spoke with a former officer of my particular chapter of the state of the party, he told me as much from the beginning, that we were going to probably get no kind of media coverage. Now we're hoping to turn that around because now we are very much into new media. And we have somebody at the state level on our state coordinating committee who's very adept at that. And so, I think we're going to be trying to work in the new media,
right.
And forget the traditional media. It'll be great if we get it. We're going to try to get it. But if we don't, there are alternatives where, we didn't have them in the past.
Right.
So that's one thing. But the other thing is that, we all, in each chapter, I think what people don't understand about the Green Party is it truly is a grassroots organization. So we up here have more of a market, of a media market than more of the rural areas. Mm-hmm. And we have greater communication than within our own organization to get the word out. So there's a number of things going on, I think, that are very encouraging. And I think that launching our Secretary of State candidacy now is really going to propel some more interest in the party, because this is going to take a lot of effort to get those tens of thousands of signatures that we need.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not worried about getting those, because if we have 1,000 Green Party members who get 40 or 50 apiece, that's a pretty good number. The problem is we need to, traditionally they say you need to double that figure. We need about 28,000, so we're going to need
You're probably going to need like 50,000 most likely, because
yes.
every signature is going to be challenged. We've seen it here in Illinois firsthand.
They will be thrown out. So I am more concerned that we get the right signatures, make sure that we have the right eligible voters on there to where we forestall that problem.
Right.
Now, I think George Wolf is our candidate. He's a fine man. He's a scholar. He's professor emeritus at Ball State University. He was the former director of the Peace and Conflict Studies at Ball State University. He's an author. He's a peace activist, and just a very fine individual who fits the mold of the Green Party.
Actually, on your Facebook page, I saw him. He did a couple of speaking events.
Oh, yeah.
When you guys hold like rallies or events, and he's one of your main speakers talking
yes.
about the issues affecting the state of Indiana. So, as Secretary of State, really, what can he do for Indiana? Because there's a lot of issues. And first, I want you to answer that question, because there's a second follow-up question I want to ask about Indiana. So what possible powers can, let's say he wins a seat, can he do to really help out Indiana, especially with environmental issues as well as social issues?
He has a 6-point plan. And
right.
if you go on his website, wolfforindiana.com, .org. I'm sorry. That's all laid out for you, but I can give you a synopsis. Basically, a 6-point plan includes increasing voter participation among all ages, gender, ethnic, religious, and secular demographic groups across the state, establishing Election Day as a statewide holiday, facilitating local voter registration across all demographic groups, expand early voting opportunities, eliminate obstacles to voting and voter suppression, and ending gerrymandering, which I reached out to our state leadership to find out what they think are the top issues, and I agree with them. I expected them to say something along these lines, which I was glad to hear. But redistricting is going to be a big issue, and this is where George is really going to be putting a lot of emphasis on. Mm-hmm. The other thing, and I just spoke with George myself, so I know he concurs with this, basically the main emphasis now is going to be gaining ballot access.
Right. So
that's why most of the energy level right now is going to go towards that, to make sure that he is assured a place on the ballot. Mm-hmm. I want to put in a plug for our next meeting. The Northwest Indiana Green Party covers Lake Porter and LaPorte County, particularly Michigan
LaPorte
City.
County, yes. Oh, you just won my heart. I just remember that LaPorte County all
yes,
the time when
yes.
my grandpa would say, "Let's go to LaPorte County." Oh, yay!
And we are rotating our meetings monthly, the third Sunday of every month, from 1 to 3. And we just had a meeting two meetings ago in Michigan City. And ironically, well, it's not ironically. Michigan City, out of the 3 areas, I think is going to be the most fertile land for us.
Yes, and actually, there's a little important note. When I was watching the election between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders to win the state votes, LaPorte County went to Bernie Sanders. And I was like, oh, you guys made me proud. I love you guys so much. It was way before we started doing this. But
I'm very excited about working in Michigan City in particular.
Right.
In fact, we have more presence with the kind of organizations that we support, the things we do. Mm-hmm. We have more presence in Lake County, and yet we had great attendance in Michigan City.
Right.
So I'm very excited about moving into that area.
So here's a follow-up question, and it's difficult for me to really talk about this because I remember as a kid, way back when I was a little bit younger, doing the road trips to Indiana, seeing all the factories and towns working. But as the years went on by, Indiana, like many Midwestern states, has many factories and businesses shutting down. The result of this has caused many communities to suffer, and in turn, there is depression, homelessness, drug addiction, and many people are left wondering how they can survive. So this is like more of a question in regards for Indiana as a whole. Currently, what is the situation in the state of Indiana, and what has been the response from the state government? Because you live there, and of course, I've did many road trips there, spent time there, but it's been a while since I've been to Indiana, to stay there for a while to really understand what's happening to these communities. The last time I was in Michigan City, I saw a lot of boarded up homes and a lot of businesses being shut down. So as someone who lives in Indiana, what's the situation there, and how is the state government really responding to the impact?
State government, as you know, has been Republican for a while, and as a former reporter, I mean, what I found was that there was a lot of spin as far as what they put out there as far as what they are doing to invite new business in. Mm-hmm. And they do talk a lot about the kind of companies that have made commitments to Indiana. But I think there's a disparity there between what they're putting out there as good news and the reality, how many well-paying jobs we're actually getting in. They do things like, we've got this great new paper company coming in, and, it's going to be great, and we're going to have X amount of jobs, but they pay $12 an hour.
And then there's the infamous where Donald Trump said he was going to defend Carrier, but
right.
Then a few months later, Carrier shut down, laid off a lot of people.
Of course, states around us think that's very attractive because we have such a poor, depending how you look at it, but the supposedly low taxes that Indiana offers. But then I think I came from from Illinois to Indiana, and what I found in Indiana was that, some things are lower, but then are overcompensated by others. So I'm not sure how much farther ahead you really are. I think there needs to be a lot more investigative reporting as far as what is put out there by the state and what the reality is.
Right.
And I don't think I have to tell you what's happened to investigative reporting.
Yes,
you know.
well, we've seen firsthand how corporate media is
Exactly.
basically, they choose to give their CEOs and presidents large bonuses, at the same time, to cut the workforce half, and they decide to not pay the cameramen and reporters as much, and the investigative reporters, they're not around as much.
We,
Well,
have a larger investigative reporting team than MSN does because we have more than 0 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I was gonna say pitch into it. They also larger media tends to paint you like a Green Party, like such as yourself. Do you have a message as progressive as that? Painting you almost like you being crazy.
Or at the same time, too, the Green Party,
dementia.
Third party,
they're just third party. It's a third party.
Don't look at them. They don't have any power unless
an
election happens that's close. Then they have all the power.
Yeah,
and then they always say that third parties, no matter who they are, whether it's Green Party, Libertarians, or Socialist Alternative, or Working Family Party, that they are a spoiler vote.
I mean, earlier, kid, you mentioned a fact of almost like 20%,
40% of Americans are
but during the elections, it was something around 20. So now imagine that did made an impact at someone's ballot. Yeah. Someone's ballot that made an impact. So it's like you know what I'm saying. It's that you can't necessarily try to like pretend get on the level with the media because they will turn you into you being crazy. Trust me. I've done some investigative things, and the way I come out looking is I'm crazy and insane. So yeah, no, I admire the work that you guys are doing. But yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, and there's another issue too that that needs to be brought up about, at least with Indiana. Myself and Daniel have been to Indiana a few times, at least myself 3 times. Daniel has been there much longer, and Indiana has a laissez-faire attitude towards environmental protections. And the Green Party as a whole is known for running on a clean environment, green energy, and stronger environmental protections. And Indiana, as I said before, has the most relaxed environmental laws in this country that favor towards large companies and industry. It is not a surprise that these industries locate to Indiana, which has the largest tar sands refinery built there. There's the largest blast furnace located there as well. What has your group seen and addressed in regards to the impact of large industry has had on Indiana ecosystems, and what is really the impact on the communities? Because these toxic materials, they are not safe for human consumption or even to be around. I remember the look on Daniel's face when we were in East Chicago, Indiana, when we were on the most heavily poisoned lead refinery area. There was this tree that was riddled with cancer tumors all over its entire body frame.
It's something that you really, there's a picture if you go far enough, if you find it, but it's like this tree. It's a 40-foot tree. It had visibly at least 300 bulges. Just it's a normal sized tree.
It's pretty big,
but just like every couple feet, there was some cancer growth. The way that trees and plants have cancer, it's different than people because we have cell membranes, they have cell walls.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
So basically, cancer isn't actually that bad for trees because it'll just grow and then it will grow in a tumor and then just just run out of room and not be able to move anywhere.
Yeah.
And just not grow anymore.
Yeah. So Susan,
but nevertheless, it's still cancer. It's like the way it works on a human, though. Yeah. I mean,
well, a human it can move throughout the body.
Yeah. That's true. But it's still kind of like how it just
whereas a tree is rigid and just like
okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to get it. Sorry, can we?
No, I know.
The very concentration of industry in that part of Northwest Indiana.
Yeah.
Right.
That's nothing new.
Correct.
I mean, we've been reporting on cancer clusters there forever. Does anything ever get done? Yeah, here and there a little bit. It goes away for a while, and then the next catastrophe pops up. Of course, I don't have to tell you what's going on in East Chicago right now.
Right.
East Chicago basically has got a number of community groups now, including ours, that are working together. And this goes cross-county. We had a lot of people in Porter County who were dragging thousands of bottles of water, for these people who were, by the East Chicago Housing Authority, placed on toxic land, and now they're drinking poisoned water.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lost track of the number of thousands of bottles that have been donated. Now, the problem with those bottle water bottles, of course, is that you're trading one pollutant for another. I mean, but they have to have water.
Sure. Just so I can get it right, CHA has jurisdiction over certain land in Indiana, or like a part of it.
Daniel knows
So
a little bit more about
basically,
this.
there's public housing
Uh-huh.
that was put down on what used to be a U.S. lead refinery, just
Okay.
directly on top of it. So
Jesus.
the safety laws in Indiana say if you have 200 parts per million or less, that's fine. That's somewhere in the natural range. If you have over 400 parts per million, okay, EPA has to come in by law and clean it. Also, just to mention, the EPA that deals with East Chicago is the same EPA District 5 that deals with Flint, Michigan. So that just to point that out there. So the
All
area
around the lake.
the areas that we were in had front lawns that had testing that came out to 90,000 parts per million. Or again, where action limit is 400. And when the EPA would test, they would do a terrible job of testing. They'd be like, we're going to dig a meter-wide hole here. There's nothing here. It should be fine. And so that's how they dealt with that. They didn't deal with the water.
What ignorance, that.
And so they didn't deal with the water, which we later learned. And I work with TYT. We actually tested and found that. So we did they would test the way they would test. The EPA would test the waters. They would go, okay, we're going to go to the sink. We're going to use cold water. We're going to let it run for 30 seconds, and then we're going to fill like 5-gallon containers. What people got to realize is if you're working with lead is most active when it has warm water. Second, when you let it run for 30 seconds, well, that's most of the lead that you would capture is right there. And then on top of that, so when we were testing it, we went to the water heaters, and we would newer water heaters. Just undid it, filled a water bottle. We had one that was like that really rusty orange color that you see from iron.
Yeah.
We had another one that was black.
Wow.
That was coming out of the water heater. And
But
so
the EPA is saying, "Oh, folks, you can go ahead and start drinking."
you're
now."
fine. And then from further tests, there's like I forget the metal name, but it's a metal that's really only used in blast furnaces
Which
to make
Indiana has the
steel.
largest
Wow.
blast furnace in
Which has the
entire-
lush, and
yeah.
so it's one of those really super dangerous metals that you can't have that are more dangerous than lead, and they found that in the water supply. And again, that only exists in any concentrated amount on the planet when you're dealing with the steelmaking process.
Yeah, so I was actually reading. I remember. I think I was here last time. Also, we had another guest who was speaking about this.
With, Thomas Frank.
Yeah,
Thomas
Thomas.
Frank
It was
was
actually
here.
interesting. So I actually went back and he has sent me a link on how the evolution of this, how the traction and the lack of jobs and lack of educational folks and the lack of educational voters, how companies become like, oh wow, no, maybe we should let them. We don't have anything, and our food stamps don't cut it. We don't have jobs. We don't have anything. So maybe we should burn off a little bit of our environment. We should. So it became almost like a norm. Like, you know what? It's fine. We're gonna get cancer in 30 years, but your penis might fall off, but everything's gonna be cool. I know I'm saying it as a joke, but that's almost like how I saw it.
But we're getting paid for now.
Yeah, but we're getting paid, but not now. Now you're starting to see you're getting paid $12 an hour for you to get testicular cancer. What? In about 6 years, 7 years?
But see, so what I'm curious though, Susan, is how do we break that cycle,
Yeah.
especially in Indiana? Because Indiana, like I said before, has a laissez-faire attitude, and the Green Party,
Yeah, that's
you
kinda
know,
what I was gonna say.
it carries the banner of environmentalism and progressive policies.
Jeez.
So
Gives
what
me
is
chills.
what has the National Green
Ugh.
Party done as a whole to really help out your group to really get at least a foothold in Indiana?
Well, you've kind of touched on something there that I did want to address.
Oh, okay.
When people are looking for alternatives, they have to remember the Green Party is an alternative because they have very little in common with the two major parties.
Right.
And one of those things is one of the first of the 10 tenets that you need to endorse in order to be considered a green, and that's grassroots democracy.
Right.
So as far as the national actually stepping in, to what's going on in East Chicago, and now with our local that's been established, that's not going to happen. It's our responsibility to do something about this. It's our community. It's a local issue for us.
So you're holding shops?
So we work with 2 and 3. Actually, probably more than that. Other progressive groups that have sprung up also since the Bernie Sanders campaign. Mm-hmm. So there's been a lot of community organizing going on in East Chicago among many groups, and what we're trying to do is build a coalition to have enough bodies, enough power to finally have some voice. Because I've learned from years and years and years, one voice alone, sorry, it sounds romantic, but it really takes a lot of voices to get the attention of the government. And we had Scott Pruitt there. I mean, all of this is going on, all these terrible things in East Chicago is going on, and Flint, Michigan. Well, we have an administration now who sends out their EPA guy, and you can't even talk to him. He's totally protected, goes into a school. We all stand out there. Does he know we're there? We hope so, but we can't even get close to these people to any kind of dialogue.
I'll never forget when we were actually in East Chicago and the West Calumet community when there's a school that $12 million they put into it. Was it $12 million? Or was it
I don't think it was exactly.
Curie,
it was the school that's right near the water tower.
Yeah.
They put $12 million into it, but they had to shut it down because of the amount of lead, not only in the water, but in the surrounding area. And interesting enough, we saw some kids playing on the playground there. The school looked very beautiful. I mean, we took a couple of photos of it.
It looks can kill, though.
Yeah.
And that's where Scott Pruitt met with, with other local officials. But, there were protesters there. We had a lot of bodies there. We continue, along with the community strategy group, to, keep putting pressure on. I mean, I wish I could be more upbeat, about whether there will be any solution to this. But look at Flint, Michigan.
No, I think I don't want you to take it away from some of your success you have. I mean, I from a person like me, I have family in Indiana, but I'm not fluent in Indiana or anything. I'm not gonna say I'm from there, but sorry. What I'm trying to say is that coming from a conservative history where nobody gives a flying crap of what may happen to the environment, it's a start. It's good to see at least there's someone from your organization, and just that move is still being embraced by that part. It's got to start somewhere. If it can start in the northwest part of it, then
I think I want to ask just a real quick two-part question because we're going to be nearing the end of our show very shortly.
No,
but at least
and don't let me forget to put my plug in for our next meeting.
No, definitely because one, I want to know where we could find you guys on social media, but also number two, as we all seen how money in politics controls our democracy, especially in Washington D.C. Who are at least the main groups who are really controlling or influencing Indiana elections? So who's influencing Indiana elections when it comes down to money and politics? And then also, where can our viewers and subscribers learn more about the Indiana Green Party and find out more about your events, or in fact tell their friends or neighbors who live in Indiana about you guys?
And do you have any plugs to add at that point?
Absolutely, yes.
Well, I can only say, I mean, the usual culprits. Money is coming from the biggest corporations, industry, and so on. Even the community organizations we have, many people are movers and shakers, with lots of connections. And, I think that's one thing that needs to be done is to actually get a better handle on where the most money is coming from. It's available. If you're interested in finding out, it's available. But do they actually focus on who those people are? No. They're not getting the kind of coverage, the kind of scrutiny that I think we should be giving them.
Right.
So we're just not... what was the other part?
The other part is I just want to know
where we can be found.
Where can we find you guys on social media, and do you have any special plugins that you want to let our viewers and listeners and subscribers know all about?
The Indiana Green Party has a Facebook page.
Okay.
Indiana Green Party.
Right.
And we have one at Northwest. I think correctly. We kind of have a way of. It's Northwest Indiana Green Party. Okay, so you can look for us specifically at that Facebook page. Indiana Green Party and Northwest Indiana Green Party, obviously one is state, the other one covers the 3 counties that I've told you.
Right.
So,
which are LaPorte,
Lake Porter, and LaPorte County. The state party has just, I believe they are done with a website.
All right.
I know that was in process, and I think it's been launched or about to be launched, but we'll also have a website.
All right, fantastic.
George Wolf, our candidate, also has his website. As far as what I want to say about that is that we are, we're going to be meeting, the Northwest Indiana Green Party is going to be meeting on the 21st, Sunday the 21st, at the Librarium Cafe. It's on Main Street in downtown Hobart.
Okay.
And things really are developing so rapidly that people really do need to make an effort to come to whatever meetings we have available, because I really think up this way we are the pipeline. And things are actually moving so rapidly that it's hard for me to answer some of these things with specifics because they're changing as we speak.
Right.
And we're very proud of that because I think we've come a really long way in a very short time.
Okay.
So I would say right now, just keep watching our Facebook pages. That's the best place to really be kept up to speed. Come to our meetings. The other reason that it's very important to come to meetings, and a lot of other groups will dispute that, but in our case, it's very important to come to meetings because the Green Party encourages activity. In other words, what I found out after the Bernie Sanders campaign, as people were coming together in their disappointment, they're searching for alternatives.
Right.
People want to be able to do something. They actually want to take on a task, do something, and made to feel as if they're making some kind of progress. Well, that's what the Green Party does. The more people that come, the more people that take responsibility, the more people that actually do things, it gets noticed.
And that's a good note to end it on. And we're very happy to have you on as a guest on our show. Susan Brown of the Indiana Green Party, thank you so much for coming all the way here.
Thank you for
Heartlands
inviting
Media is
us.
very happy to have you guys here.
Thank
And
you.
to all our listeners, viewers, subscribers, please tune in every Saturday at the Q4 Radio from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you're interested in helping grow our page, our network, check us out on our Patreon page. Peace, everyone, and let's all do what we can to build a better future.
You're watching Hard Lens Media.